Thanks a lot for all of you coming on Sunday morning, 10:30. I see a lot of familiar faces that we saw this morning on the Walk of Fame at 4:05 in the morning. I'm glad that you're here now. I'm really thrilled to be moderator of this conversation. I will not say round table, even we have a small round table with a very powerful ladies in the film industry. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah. So I will be very short. I would love that we open the discussion and to talk about the themes, future pathways for women in cinematography especially, and to open discussion and to inspire change, to foster collaboration, and to propel the industry towards a more equitable future. I would love to introduce our guest speakers. Yeah, I will start with Gertrude Bello, Director of Photography, alumni of La Famille. Gertrude Bello began her career in 2002 as a cinematographer for Claire Doyon, feature film Sleep Tight, which was premiered at Cannes at Fortnight in 2003. And she's also co-director of the documentary L'Enfant du fond du lac for Arte. Since then, for the past 20 years, Gertrude has been entirely dedicating to cinematography and the camera operating, but also directing, and she has more than 50 movies, including fiction and documentaries of all lengths. Last year, a documentary Good Art and the Cinema, and she just finished On the Road of Our Lives, her new documentary as a director. Also, I would love to add that she's a member of AFC, Association of French Cinematographers, and she's a member of the collective Woman with the Movie Camera. Ula Pontikos, London-based cinematographer, or world-based cinematographer at the moment. Ula Pontikos has become the 6th winner of the National Film and Television School annual Sue Gibson BSc Award for cinematography for her work on the Netflix show Russian Doll. Also, Primetime Emmy nominee for Russian Doll, as well as she received a nomination for AAC Award. She's recently wrapped her Showtime series, 3 Women, starring Shailene Woodley, right? Okay, good. In 2010, Ola was also nominated for a small Golden Camera 300 here at Manaki Film Festival for the short movie Jenny and the Worm, which she found out today, right?
No, some time ago.
Some time ago, okay. Yeah, Ula Pontikos. Céline Bozon, am I correctly pronouncing the name? Okay, the French is not my good side, maybe in English as well. He's a former co-president of Association of French Cinematographers and has photographed nearly 40 movies, collaborating with various directors and winning a lot of prizes. I want to say that in 2017 she won a grand jury prize at Berlinale for the movie Félicité, which also brought her nomination for Golden Camera 300 at Manaki International Film Festival. Ellen Lotman, cinematographer that shot numerous feature films, short and documentaries. known for titles such as Demons, My Dear Mother, Goodbye Soviet Union, Sleeping Beast, which will be screened in the special screening at the Manaki Film Festival today at 5 p.m. She's the president of the Estonian Society of Cinematographers and the former president of IMAGO, the International Federation of Cinematographers. She's also head of film department at Baltic Film School. Her PhD, she's PhD graduate, and her research was about neuroscience and cinematography. Ellen Lotman.
Can I just add that I think it's Ellen's birthday tomorrow?
Ooh, okay. Another reason to celebrate. Yes. More party. Erika Adis, she's mostly known on her work on various documentary movies. She's lecturing at the Australian Film and Television School. Since 2022, was elected as a president of Australian Cinematographers Society as the first female president of the National Association. In 2022, also, a wider lens report was launched, which was led by Erika, which is world first nationwide survey, Australian survey, about working conditions revealing widespread discrimination and inequity. Agnieszka Żeliga. She was before Aga, but now rebranded with. She's a camera operator on many movies, and I will name several: Ferrari, House of the Dragon, The Batman, Great, and The Middle of the River, Dig, and many, many more. She's founder of the community of female film technicians called Women Behind the Camera. And Bojana Andrić, as well director of photography, vice president of IMAGO, vice president of Serbian Society of Cinematographers, full member of the IMAGO Technical Committee, and her works are recent works are Title of the Beast, In the Clinch, Love Cuts, Lighting, and also, yeah, not lighting, but tomorrow, or no, Tuesday, I think, Tuesday here at Kino Manaki, you will have a chance to be present on a presentation of Bojana, Lighting with Ari, lighting on the set. All right, I will open the floor. So please, I wouldn't point fingers to all of you. Feel free to talk about your achievements. Choose one of your projects which is a turning point in your career, I suppose, a very hard path that leads to achievements as a woman cinematographer. And I would like to start with discussing about your achievements. Whoever wants. Ula, or Celine, or maybe Ellen? Okay.
I will start maybe with less of an achievement, but something that did change my career. And it was very early on. I think I had just recently graduated the film school. And the thing was, back then, there were no female cinematographers in Estonia. And when I looked around at the cinematographers around me, they usually were middle-aged white men who spoke like one word a year. That's Estonian thing. And when I looked into the mirror, I didn't see any of it. So looking back, there was a point in my career, I guess, where I was trying to be something else. I was trying to behave differently, and I was seeing myself as a problem. So somehow, accidentally, I had the chance to be an apprentice on a film shoot. It was a film that Chris Doyle shot in Thailand. You can imagine that it was a lot of fun. And he obviously, who knows him, he doesn't behave like a stereotypical Estonian cinematographer. And when I watched him work for 2 months, I suddenly understood something which I think made a huge impact on how I saw myself as a cinematographer. I understood that there is really only one thing that I am the best in the world. Everything else, somebody probably is better. But being myself is something that no one else can do better. So when I just looked at him being as unapologetically himself as he was, I understood that I can be myself too. So I started a stumbling path for 20 years of being myself.
I have a Chris Doyle story because I went to China. I was in Beijing trying to find myself somehow in China. And I think, Seamus, you did that. You appear in my life and disappear. Seamus put me in touch with Chris Doyle, who was grading his maybe Thai. It was definitely one of the, maybe it was one of the Chinese movies, and I went for a session with him, a grading session, and that was pretty incredible just to sit and watch him being, well, you know, it's pretty incredible. I mean, to be that confident and knowing and actually having, I think coloring is very intimate. And it's very personal, and to actually being part of it, to see somebody doing their color without the director, it was just the colorist and Chris and I, and we spent the whole day together. It was pretty incredible.
Okay, Chris Doyle stories.
So, my story, I'm not kidding, I'm going to tell a story about Chris Doyle. No. Very briefly, I remember panel on Camera Image 3 years ago during pandemics. So there was Chris Doyle, Anthony Don Mantle, and I don't remember who was the third guy. So they were supposed to have some, you know, talk about the artistic choices, but they had such a fun for an hour and a half of only laughing and then in the middle of the panel they would say, like, can you please start now talking about your artistic choices, and they never start. So this is the story about Chris Doyle. So the achievements, when we all gathered and we said that we are going to talk about our achievements, I have also around 20 years of, I was studying from 2002 during film era. And then in these 20 years, everything changed so much for me, and I needed to reflect to some other feelings that I had before and to figure out how I ended up here. So I had a help from my partner who I'm with him for a long time. So one thing he said is that, and I agreed with that, is during these years you do change a lot, but your gut and your thing has to be natural. So you cannot become what you're not, right? So it has to be natural way. And my thing was, I was very hardworking. I volunteered a lot. I volunteered on many feature films, more than 5, 6, 7 feature films in the beginning when I was a student. And then I was learning to be next to director and DP. And I learned what I liked and what I didn't like in their behavior. And very early I figured out that I shouldn't be very sensitive. And it's for us as a female women cinematographer, it's not so easy to show how sensitive we are or how emotional sometimes you can get for no reason. So this is one of the things that I figured out very early, that I should, you know, be stable. And turning point for me was after many years of being a volunteer and working on I started as a set photographer. I figured out that I was how to say, not, I showed respect over this, and then they called me to start working, and hard work, I don't know, but being myself, if that is an answer.
For me, I was student with Claire Maton, which you can know, and she was in Louis Lumière and I was in Femis, and we did in a way our school together because I went there, she came and she did our movies and so on. So, but when we were students, I think there was no question about being a woman. For us, we had models like Agnès Godard, Caroline Champetier, and so as we had them, it was really like, we will do that. It's not a question. It will be easy. We have just to work, and it will be there. And then for me, a point very important. I was 25 years old when I did Exile from Tony Gatliff. And I was the youngest in the set, and there were only men, and I gave them orders, and here I understood that it will be difficult.
I don't know which story to say, but one of the very important moments for me was my first job after having my daughter. She was 17 months old. And I was driving to work. By then, I haven't worked for about 2 years, and I was sleep deprived and felt really out of touch with the industry. My husband took her away from me for 1 week to help me stop breastfeeding and feel better and just focus on the job. And I was driving with cabbage leaves stuck in my bra to stop the pain. Ellen might know something about it. And I got to set, and I had this moment. I felt like I'm going to fail everyone. I was just so lost, and then it cuts to it was this big scene, and I had cues about 8 actors, and I had to go from lines to from one to another, and someone was talking to me about it, and cuts to lunchtime, and someone asked me about my daughter, have you missed her? And I realized that I haven't thought of her. I forgot that I had a daughter. and I started repeating something like, I can be myself. I can be myself. I can be myself. I realized that despite the fact that I became a mom, I was still the same person. I was camera operator and I could manage my job. And I realized that it is all possible. And that gave me this inspiration and motivation to push. And yeah, I think that's it.
I don't have stories about Chris Doyle.
Not yet.
Not yet, and possibly never. That's another story. But what I do want to speak about is very recent in my work. So since I became president of the ACS, I have had enforced retirement from shooting because the ACS has entirely consumed my life. But before I took that on, I was teaching at the Griffith Film School in Brisbane. And one of the projects that I shot while I was there is a film called Brazen Hussies. Brazen Hussies is the story of feminism in Australia from around about 1967 through till now, really, but particularly through the 70s, when women were just amazingly inventive and creative in all of the ways that they protested. And it was a fantastic project to be involved in. It was a largely archival film, but I met and filmed some of the extraordinary women from that time who were still alive. And the film was finished, and the world premiere was coming up in Brisbane, and I took a group of my mostly female students from my cinematography students with me to see this film, thinking, what will these 20-year-olds make of a film about what happened in 1968 and 1972, etc., etc.? And I thought, oh God, it's a 90-minute film. Will they stay with it? Oh God, they'll be bored. They came out of that film so excited, so amazed, and so astonished by the stories that they had no idea about what had happened in the country before they were born. I was incredibly energised by their excitement to learn about their own social history. So it's a story. I mean, I was just incredibly proud to be part of that film, but I was also I was very inspired by their excitement. So the next generation.
So I have to say that I'm very nervous because my English is less fluid than my colleague. So I'm sorry by advance. My career switched twice. The first time it was when I was 29. I was pregnant for my first child. And I have to make my second feature film as a DOP. And the production refused me because I was pregnant. And at this time, I was DOP, director for TV, and then I have to stop that, and I only have work in a documentary as DOP. What I like, but it wasn't my project. I want to be featuring. And the second time, it was in 2018, and it was the first discuss between women DOP, which in France, and we make the collective women with a movie camera. After that, what I want to speak after, and it switched my career in a positive way.
I mean, since I just find out that some of the panelists are also a mother, and you can also talk about the work balance between the obligations, not only for the mothers. Everybody has their own life that needs to be balanced with the work, having in mind that the work is not that easy, and sometimes it takes a lot of period of time during the shooting. How is your experience? So turning point for Gertrude was when she became mother. Also, we heard from Aga that, yeah, so, but we have also Ellen, who has not one, but 3 children. How it is, especially hearing the story of breastfeeding and the connection.
It's fun. I would say that all in all in this topic, when film industry becomes more balanced and more equitable and more just, one thing that also happens is that having children or having a family, it's not only a women thing, it's a human thing. And we had a panel discussion in Camera Image about work-life balance. There were more men in the room than women, because I think film industry is incredibly cruel about work-life balance in general, and just normalizing having a family and being able to talk about having a family. In Scandinavia, in all fields of life, there is more and more understanding that it's absolutely normal to have children. But in film industry, it is still stigmatized in a way. So I always bring my kids to the set. I always talk to my crew about how their kids are doing. I'm always trying to be informed about how my crew is doing, what's their situation with their family, because I want them to be happy. I don't want them to go home, be alone and sad, because when they are happy, then they are better as a crew. So for me, I think normalizing this topic has been something that I just... So for example, one thing that I did when I had my 3rd child, I went for an interview with a film, with a director and the producer I hadn't worked with before, and both of them were male. Male sounds like some kind of diagnosis. Both of them seemed to be very male. They were men. And they didn't have kids. So and Artur here, he was like 3 months old. So I thought, okay, I'll just take him with me to the interview. So they will see who I am. I won't hide him. And they were cool with it. And I was like, okay. So I've been also in my life for a short period of time experiencing the life of a normal person, like office job. So for 3 years I was head of film department in our film school, and I found out how it feels like to have a 9-to-5 job. That was horrible, firstly. But secondly, I understood that I'm a much better parent when I'm doing films. Because when I'm on a 9-to-5 job, I'm always tired. I go home, I'm tired. I wake up, I'm tired. I see my kids only when I'm super tired. But when I'm shooting, I'm away. When I come back, I'm like the coolest parent because I'm for them all the time. So actually, I think filmmaker parents are better parents in a sense of not be in a sense of being there. So I understood that it's also maybe a little bit of misunderstanding that if you have a normal life, then it's easier to be a parent. My kids, I think, have gained from the access to other filmmakers and to an understanding that, well, when we had our first kid, then me and my partner Mattis, who is a producer, so we're both filmmakers, we kind of juggled through it somehow. So we thought we were here first, so it's easier for her to get used to our lifestyle than us to rearrange everything. So we just took her everywhere we went, and she became part of our life, and then the next ones who followed. And I think this is how nomadic people have always lived. There is no separation that this is my work life and this is my real life. For me, I'm always being real. So I think, and the good thing about kids is also that once they arrive, you can't send them back. So you just have to make it work somehow. You go like, okay, I'll figure this out. I have to shoot and I have to pump and I'll figure this out. Once it happens, then you just figure it out somehow. And I'm not saying it's easy, but cinematography is also not easy. So, but it's totally worth it.
Also, feel free from the audience if you have any questions. This is discussion, it's not an interview. Or no, you're not. Well, maybe if there are any producers in the room. The males. Okay. Well, can you all tell me about where was your turning point and where did you broke the ceiling? Ula? And what was the reason?
What was the reason for my turning point?
I mean, the reason was your work, but I want to hear more about your experience. Of course, every success has a really a long path, not very easy, especially if you are.
I mean, I don't know what success really is, because I think I when I was
when success is when you finish a movie.
When I remember I met somebody at the AFC Awards, and they were really hurt that they didn't end up doing one of the projects which is now being released, and it sort of made me realize that there is this never-ending suffering, because we always continually trying to have that unachievable project, and this is part, I think, which attracts a lot of people in the film industry, which is sort of a way why we keep going. So I think there's never enough. We always want more, and we always try to. And for me, it's always I personally like doing projects which keep me outside of the comfort zone. So it's a sort of a level when you're in pain, but not too much pain, which is a very fine line, because a lot of them are very painful. And but I think in my career, it's always been sort of, I always defined my life in sort of in chunks around stepping stones and things which challenged me, and sometimes it was painful. Deeply painful, because it was working very hard, working with a lot of personalities, but there was always a sense of satisfaction. After that, I don't know whether Nigel was here. I remember when I was a Nigel Walters trainee. I saw him, but I think maybe he left. That was my second job in the film industry. Seamus, I remember I was harassing him to introduce me to an agent. I was at the film school, and Seamus at the time was at Casarotto, and he introduced me to the agent I was with for quite a few years, and I never, I sort of looked at all the cinematographers in my life who meant something to me, whose work meant something to me, and I was trying to sort of follow that step. And I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what. There's just so much to.
Did you feel when the ceiling broke?
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
The ceiling is there.
The ceiling is always there. You mentioned people who are here who kind of helped you on your way. So maybe some of you can also talk about the mentorship and support from the colleagues in the industry, how open they are, and how valuable it was for all of you in shaping your careers. And
my colleague said camera department wasn't a place for women. And I remember thinking, I'll fucking show you. Sorry. We're talking about mentoring, right? Yes. So I never had a former mentor, but I think I was really lucky because some people believed in me, and because of that, I could go further than I thought I could. And because of that advice and that support and love and nurturing, I could do it. I could take the next step. And what we do now is we nurture the younger generation and give back. And it's so important to bring people in this like nice, gentle way and nurture and help. About 6 years ago, with two other colleagues, fellow operators, we started a database called Women Behind the Camera. And it became this really nice, this supportive community of women technicians across camera, lighting, grip. I think when we started the database, we had 4 women operators in our association in the ACO, and now we have over 20 women. And that happened because we basically held each other's hand. We celebrated each other's success. We nurtured each other, and that's what we do with trainees on set. We're pushing for diversity and inclusion, and teaching people to be kind to each other, and we believe in people. And when we do, you see they take huge steps forward. I lost my plot. I know I was going to say something else. It might come back.
Okay. I believe in mentoring. I had a lot of mentors in my life. My first mentor was a photographer who was teaching me how to get enrolled in a photography school, but then a month before the entry exam, he said, I made a huge mistake. You should not go to photography school. You should go to camera school. So that was a turning point for me. I could easily go in this direction, and then I left to camera direction. And then my main professor, who shot more than 65, 70 feature films, he saw that my energy was completely toward the film, and he said that I'm emitting that the film is my life, and this is my, this is my decision how to move on. And then I also met this year at Oslo, David Stamp, who is an American cinematographer, who is also a mentor of mine. And I really, really think that whenever I get to the situation that Tula described, that we are in some kind of a field that we don't know how to solve, I really don't hesitate to ask for an advice. And those people help me a lot, but somehow I always choose to have mentors who has a very nice personality and who are very open for that. And I just want to jump a little bit back about the maternity. I remember very clearly when I was entering school 20 years ago, I was said, well, if you go to a maternity leave, you will never come back to the industry. So it was said like that. That is like something that is well known. And I saw some examples that some women were, having trouble to go back to work after being on. But I guess it all depends of everyone and everyone's path. And then about the glass ceiling, I don't know if how do we see the glass ceiling? Is it only if we are working in Hollywood in a big industry, or it's if we are in our small industries, for example, in Macedonian or in Estonian? If Ellen got in Estonia opportunity to shoot the biggest project that year, did she broke a glass ceiling for our microcosmos, or it's needed that we shoot the James Bond next movie to break it? So I don't know. I had a feeling that it depends of our community. Where do we want to break a glass ceiling?
The glass ceiling is incredibly real, and I think a lot of us feel like we actually work in quite small communities. And I know that in Australia, one of the things is that there's kind of a small pool of cinematographers, particularly in television drama, which we have quite a lot, who are the same ones. They always, there's a small pool, they always get the gigs. And it's the catch-22 that if you haven't shot television drama, you can't shoot television drama, no matter how good you are, no matter what else you've done, no matter how good your show reel is. And one of the things that we have done in Australia, which is absolutely helping to make extraordinary progress for a small number of participants, is that we have a government-funded scheme to actually pay women who are incredibly experienced but haven't shot television drama the opportunity to actually step onto an existing production, be supervised by the existing cinematographer, shadow them, be mentored by them, shoot an episode of the series and get a credit for having shot television drama. And once you have that credit, then of course, bingo, you can shoot television drama. So, and so far we've had 2 women go through this program, and they went through hell. They had 1 week when they were suddenly the centre of a firestorm. The first woman literally was invited to come onto the program a week before she had to be on set. She happened to be in Toronto. Nobody realised that she was in Toronto when they made the invitation, and she literally booked a flight and came back to Melbourne and then went on location. And she'd never been on a television drama set before in her life, had no idea how many things would change so quickly every hour of every day in the 5 days that she was actually shooting it. They were filming on a beach. One of the cast got hit by a surfboard, so they were out of the cast. Something happened to one of the electrics. They were out of the crew, and she was sort of astonished by the rate of change that happened all around her, and had to adapt to it. So it was literally a trial by fire, stepping into that place of helming all of those people, and she had essentially the main mentor was her was the supervising DP, who just said she was extraordinary, but also the producer on that show said she was extraordinary. So and similar stories from the second placement, and their lives have changed. But also, I think the flow-on effect from the scheme is that also a whole lot of people on the crew all go, this is actually something that can work. We can actually take on somebody that before we would have kind of gone, don't know about her. Maybe we can take a chance and actually be part of the change. So it's a great scheme. I'm incredibly proud of it. It's not mine personally, but I feel like I own it. We've got... the first person was still in shock, I think, which it was only January this year. So we've had 2 placements go through. We've got 2 more to go, and then we're endeavouring to secure a second round of funding. The woman, Alice Stevens, who was in Toronto, has returned, and I haven't got details of what's happening for her work-wise. And Kate Cornish, who was the second one, is she was already incredibly busy. Whether she's actually got a television drama as such yet, I think it's too soon to say.
There's definitely something about prolonging the initial support, because I think a lot of within any training situations, like the call out for trainees in the UK, there's a lot of diversity entering these schemes, but there is a very little sustainability within the work, and it really takes a long time. It takes about 10 years to build your career.
So one of the criteria for the scheme is to actually measure the results in time. So a KPI, key performance indicator, is that they actually do get work on television drama within, I think we actually said 12 months. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but in an ideal world, it will. We'll see.
I would like to see schemes like that for feature films. I know that, Katie Swain, it's incredible what happened to a colleague of ours, because she started doing a second unit and operating for John Matheson. And I think she's a mum of 2. Her career slowed down. She had a very incredibly personal journey in her life, and she's just an incredible woman. And I think it would be nice to see a support for anybody from from diverse backgrounds, to see that support throughout the bigger budget feature films as well, because there's definitely a shortage of women in high budget productions for features.
I made so many notes, so I'm not sure if I'm responding to the original question, but I think and thank you, Agnieszka, for mentioning that we have to give credit to the people who are assholes also, because they kind of make you want to work harder to prove them that they're idiots. So most of my life I have only received support, but there have been moments where I have been told things which are so incredibly sexist that I'm stunned. We had a teacher. We all knew that he's this kind of guy, but we had a teacher when I was in university who had shot a film in 70s with a female cinematographer, and in Soviet Union in 70s, female cinematographer meant that he had really been looking for he was directing, and he had really been looking for someone, because there wasn't really many. And I was first year student, so I wanted to know, why did you pick a female cinematographer? And he looked at me and he said, so we're shooting on an island for 3 months. The men have to have something to do. And I thought, I will prove you're wrong. So, but in addition to this overt discrimination, I think one thing that is hard with being any kind of minority, not any kind of minority in any kind of field, is that when you're a majority, then let's say you get an offer, and it's for some reason you get turned down, so you don't get a job that you wanted. then you either go like, I wasn't good enough, or you go like, they're idiots, they didn't know how good I am. And you move on with your life. If you're a minority, then you never know whether you didn't get it because you're a minority, or you didn't get it because you weren't good enough, which means that you're always in this kind of precarious, kind of doubting yourself all the time, because you never know what was the reason. So this is something which builds a certain kind of ingrained insecurity in you, and something which it's very good that you mentioned the ACS study, which is incredibly well done study. Every time I'm in a panel with Eric, I just keep on speaking of how well it has been done. It's not only just a study, but the way they have collated the data, and the way the data represents the actual things that happen is very telling. I really recommend everybody to go and look into the results of this study. And one of the things that you asked when you did it was, have you experienced discrimination? And if you would see discrimination on a set, would you do something about it? And I think everybody here in this room can guess that the people who have experienced discrimination, they would say, no, I wouldn't do anything about it because they're afraid of the repercussions. And the people who say, I haven't experienced anything, they say, of course I would say something. Which means that if you haven't experienced it, you don't see it. You'd see it much, much less. And this experience is something that really builds a sensitivity to it, but it also builds this kind of constant self-doubt. So, but about mentorship, there was a moment, for a very long time, I wasn't really aware of my womanness at all. I thought I was a human, and it was okay to be a human. I knew that there aren't really very many women cinematographers around, but I didn't really feel that I have a choice. Plus, I was super bad as a camera assistant, so I had to just become. I was so bad. I'm the one person who hired me. I'm still using him as a focus puller, and I will use him until he dies because really I was super bad. So sometimes, when you're really good as a camera assistant, then you get stuck in the situation that you become better and better as an assistant, and nobody wants you to be a DP anymore. I didn't have this problem. I was so bad that everybody was like, oh, thank God she's not in the crew. So that made maybe it a little bit easier. No, I'm joking. I really didn't sense that I have a choice. I just wanted to be a cinematographer, and what had to be done had to be done. And but I wasn't aware that it's a thing. And some years ago, 2016, we established with Nina Kellgren Imago Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And before we did it, there was a moment that really changed my understanding, because for a very long time I kept saying, no, I'm not a feminist. I'm not interested in these topics. I just want to shoot. Stop talking about this. But somebody sent me a letter. There had been a call in social media, please send us images of female cinematographers who inspire you. And someone sent me a letter, said, you have been signed up by somebody. And in this letter, I saw the original letter that was sent by one of my students, my former students. And she wrote that here in Estonia, we only have Ellen to look up to. We don't have anyone else. And then I understood, okay, I might not want to be a role model, but I already am, so why not make the best out of it? And one last thing about Ulla mentioned that it takes time to build a career, and I'm an amateur etymologist. Every time a new word comes up, I want to see where this word has come from. And I was mentoring in Berlinale Talents, and I had to write them in the camera studio, and I had to write them a welcome letter. I thought I will check where the word talent comes from. And I found out that in this Proto-Indo-European synthetic language, Pi language, talent comes from the same root as tolerate. So talent is not something that is given to you. Talent means you don't give up. Talent is the person who just doesn't give up, and at some point everybody will go, oh, you're so talented.
Just about being a mother, effectively a career takes time, and my partner told me, be a DOP and then we will see for the children. At the time I was like, okay, I'll try, But nowadays, I think this sentence has not the same sense than it was at the time, because we separated, and I have 2 children with him, and for me it's very difficult because 1 week I have to find a way when I'm not there to have someone with my children. So each time I speak about that with students, it's still a question. We can't say it's easy and you will or you have money, but it's not my case. I have to work to have money, and I love my work. When we separated, the question was really, do I continue? It was not so sure, and in a way I was lucky because I did a lot of feature. It was not so complicated towards the work, so it was like, wow, what do I do? So you're right, you have to continue, you have to believe in what you do, but it's not so easy. Je sais plus comment il s'appelle. There's a movie, yes, about a mother which is always running from a place to another. French, I don't remember the name.
Like a couple of weeks,
yes,
and she has to find childcare. She has to find childcare, and she's living somewhere outside of in peripheric, and she has to go to the town. She's working in hotels, and it's sort of a day of a life of a mom who's a single mother. Who I mean, it's super. It's the best thriller I've ever seen. It just kept me on the edge of a seat. It's an amazing, so stressful. It's basically like Safdie Brothers for women.
I know for the example of 2 women being first AC, so they share the credit actually. What they deal, they were single mom. So 1 week was one was working, the other one was at home keeping kids in one place, and then the other week the other one was working, and then that was kind of a really literally life balance. So half of time working, half of time being with kids. I don't know if that could be if that could work with the DPs to share a credit and to have that back to back, but that was one of the possibilities that some people are doing.
About mentorship and help we have in our career. For me, it was people who helped me was every time women. Céline is one of them. Models was for me. Models was Agnès Godard et Sabine Lancelin, voilà, c'est DBOP. And in my career, I met 2 directors, women directors, documentary. In 2 weeks, I met them for the first time, and for 10 years, I worked with her. One of them is Esther Offenberg. Esther Offenberg is a director, very feminist one, and she is really a mentor for me, and she helped me like a professional mommy for me. And as I said, when we start to make a group with French women DOP. It was very liberating. Okay, it was very liberating for all of us to speak about how it is to be a female DOP. And so Samuel, do I can present now?
I wanted to, because you know how important it is to build a community and support groups, because you mentioned that you are part of Camera Operators Association,
It's a network for female
technicians,
give women visibility.
but also yeah, but also you wanted also to talk about your organization and
Yes. So-
support group.
Because my English is very limited, I would like to read our presentation on our website. So it's women with a movie camera, the English name, Femme à la caméra, FALC in French. In the spring of 2018, we initiated meetings between female directors of photography, convinced that we have our say in the reality of women's work around the camera. Since then, we have welcomed new members, DOP, camerawomen, ACs, electricians, machinists, and DIT. Regarding the mathematic fact that our profession exists only within a still very gendered industry, where only 24% in these fields, we wonder, how do we do our job? What is our responsibilities? What kind of leader are we? Is there a specificity of the female gaze behind the camera? What are the sentences that we have all or almost all heard? How can we break the glass ceiling holding back our careers? How do we defend our point of view? We will always consider the diversity we bring among all the necessary diversities. Join forces with preserving the richness and plurality of sensibilities is the proposal of our collective Femmes à la Caméra, Women with a Movie Camera. And I note all our activities. So we hold one meeting a month, one cine club. We organize technical workshop on Stab 1 or Light Bridge, by example. We push camera rental to buy waste adapted at our economy. We also organize mountain climbing courses. We organize a small groups discussion circle on various empowerment topics. And we organize two roundtables, public roundtable, one about career and maternity, and one with DOP of the world, with you, by example. And we, and thanks to IFC events 2 years ago, I think. Well.
Yes, so Ellen mentioned the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and when Nina and Ellen started Diversity and Inclusion Committee, it was 2016, and that was pioneering this topic. And now we figure out that this is recognized, and there is a lot of panels and talks about that. So, of course, visibility and empowerment is the main thing for that. But then, when I succeeded Ellen in a committee, we talked about more specific actions and how now we shouldn't just talk about all of that in general, and also we also like to talk about our film work, about our cinematography, not just about us being female or women cinematographer. But now we as a Diversity and Inclusion Committee, we are collecting and connecting all those collectives from national societies, and then we have a program that we called Empowering. Erika is in that subcommittee group, and whoever wants to be part of it, you just can include, because our idea was to collect all around the world mentorees and trainees, and in some period of time help them and to keep working with them, because we cannot do that on a national level. We are all around the world, living in different continents. So this is one of the things that we are planning to do as a specific action. So I'm also inviting all of you, if you want to be part of that, you can always be proactive. that is one big thing, being proactive and giving visibility. That way this is not anything special. That way we can start talking about cinematography. Yes.
I also want to add something which is special about Imago is that it's an international organization, so it means that it's also possible to share international experiences. So in our local cinematography societies, we have local experiences, but I think from the sharing something happens where we, for example, there are countries which have very different, let's say, not only in terms of cinematography, but in terms of work-life balance, there are really, really different ways countries go about it. For example, in Estonia, we have a parental leave, where you get the same income that you got last year, you get for 1.5 years, which is like, I don't know anywhere in the world that there is a program like this. But if you know that there is a country that has something like this, then you can say, okay, it's possible. Yeah. But there is only 1.3 million of us, and it's the sparsest country in the world, so there is room. But also, I think the sharing is important because there are moments where you just need to be encouraged that change is possible. And time-wise also, we know that there have been these moments where it seems like the change is coming, and then there is a backlash. And Nina has been a huge inspiration for me all the time. But Nina Kellgren, who is not here today, but she's a British DP, and she told me that there was a period, I think in the 80s, where it felt like things are really changing. Things are changing now, and they're really changing. And this was a period where there was 1% of female cinematographers in UK. And suddenly there was a backlash. Suddenly there was like, oh, this is too much. This is too quick. Oh, my God. And the backlash happened when there was 4%. So from 1% to 4%, suddenly it felt like, oh, my God, this is too much. The thing is, sometimes we talk about this a lot, but the actual change really only happens when we don't have to talk about it anymore. If it's not an issue anymore, if there is no backlash or there is no forward lash, then we know, okay, it's not a problem anymore. So when we established this diversity and inclusion committee, we thought, like the original feminists, we thought that our only goal is to make ourselves redundant. So by the time, if there's a moment where everybody's like, female, male, I don't think it's an issue, then it means that the change actually has happened. But as long as we are facing either forward lash or backlash, then it means that it really is a problem that needs to be dealt with. And I think part of this is like this total normalizing of being who you are. And I think one of the moments that was encouraging to me is when I was pregnant with my second child. I was prepping for a feature that we were shooting in August, but we also had a second period in November, and then I knew that I'm going to be quite, like I'm going to have a very big belly in November. So I told to my focus puller, I told him, listen, Rein, I have this thing that I'm gonna be very, very pregnant in November when we're shooting. And then he didn't even flinch. He just said, oh, then we need to get the long eyepiece, and then put it in the list. And he didn't react like at all. And I was like, oh, yes, because I don't want this to be a topic. We are dealing with it as a topic because it needs to be done. But really, ideally, it should be something that it's not an issue at all. It's maybe an issue for a rental list, but nothing else. And also, being me, so you mentioned I have a PhD, I also have an ADHD, so I have a bunch of stuff. And, and I'm very proud of it. I have earned it. And I think one thing that I have understood now is that originally when I started, there was a lot about myself that I thought is a problem because it was different. I was very loud. I was very, I don't know, clumsy too, and I didn't behave like a cinematographer should behave. But at some point, the career changes and shifts slowly, and at some point, I understood what I thought was wrong about me is what directors appreciate about me. Why they say, we want to work with you because you are interested in the story, or you're interested in the characters, or the way you work on rehearsals or whatever. And I'm not saying it's about me being a woman or a man. It's about me just being me, embracing who I am and understanding that this is why people would want me. If I'm trying to be very, very hard to be someone else, then there is no reason to take me. They could take anyone else. But just embracing that this is who I am is part of making it work.
about the chiffre, about percentage. In the presentation of women behind the camera, I said 24%, but because there is assist in this percentage. As DOP, we are less than 15% in France. It's more than a lot of countries, but it's really a small percentage. And machinists and electricians are less than we can measure because CNC we don't have the chiffre. Numbers. Merci. And about to be choose because we are women as DOP, and about this when to be choose because you are men as DOP. I always said that if men are not choose because they are their gender, we will half and half men and women. It is that we ask us if we are choose because we are women for movies, but we never ask to men if they are choose because they are women, they are men, but they are choose because they are men. But the question don't be asked, never.
Yeah, importance of numbers. Why I keep on talking about this ACS study is that, and I really hope that someday we will be able to make a global study because numbers are really important. But numbers are funny too. I had to do a presentation about Estonian gender balance in Estonian film industry, and and there was a moving graph. Moving graph that showed from maybe it was like 2012 to 2018 or something, showed how the balance really changed. So one year there was like 60% of men and 40% of women, and then one year it was like 0% of women. It was really shifting, and I was doing it for a group of Eurimage and a group of a fund, a European fund. And they asked what's going on there, and they said, well, that's the year when I was shooting, and that's the year when I had a kid and I wasn't shooting. so if it's a very small community, the numbers can be really tricky because it looks like a big change, but it's really one person who shows in the statistics. But numbers are terribly important because they really, when we speak about these issues a lot, it feels like change is happening, but numbers really are the only things that show if the change is happening. And also speaking about the ACS study, it's important to see numbers in the context so that they are collated. For example, the study showed that the pay gap is not just there, but the pay gap is increasing, and it doesn't have a connection with experience or education. So women had more experience and more education, but the pay gap was still increasing. So it's important to also see the numbers in a context and understand the truth behind them.
Ellen is our best PR person for the study. Brilliant.
It's a very good study. It's a very good study.
Thank you.
Since we are talking about the numbers, I would love to mention about Macedonia, where we are right now. This is very important to talk about it, and I hope that the change will come and that we will stop talking about it. Unfortunately, in the country, we don't have. We have 2 graduate female cinematographers. I'm glad that one of them is here, but I'm sorry to say that she was never given a chance to shoot the movie, and we probably know why. I will not point you, but if you feel, to say, she is amazing camera assistant and focus puller. You saw her work last night, but I would love that. I would love that Marina Kolovska will finally get the chance to shoot a movie.
So she was a good assistant, and that was a problem I was speaking about. It's good to,
yeah, she's
not to be a good focus puller.
no, it's well, but like the country or the film industry, if we can call it industry here in our small country, should start making changes, and unfortunately, I don't see too many of our colleagues from Macedonia in the audience. They're probably working. Yes, you're right. Yes, please.
Since I was preparing for the Famala Camera roundtable 2 years ago, I know the statistics on ex-Yugoslavia. So Slovenia, 0 females, 0 women. Croatia, 1 that lives in Canada, so 0 again. There are some young cinematographers, but it's needed to have at least two feature film to be part of the Croatian Society of Cinematographers. Then in Bosnia and Herzegovina, 2, but some of them are only shooting with television, being part of the television DOP. Montenegro, 0. In Serbia, we have 4. We are very happy to have four women, and we have one honorable member in Canada as well. So in Macedonia, I also invited Marina to be part of the panel, but she didn't feel that she would be part of the panel with DOPs. So I'm hoping really that next year, yes. So this is more or less the statistic at the Balkans, very very poor. Yes.
Maybe this one.
Yeah, you mentioned that you didn't feel like being part of the panel, but I have to talk about this. I think all of us, irrespective of our gender, we are all standing on the shoulders of giants. So our crews are what are so important of actually being able to be a cinematographer. Our partners are the people who allow us to have a family. So I think it is extremely important to keep on saying that the cinematographer is never just a lone wolf. A cinematographer depends on a network of people who help them at home or at work. And these people never get enough credit. So if there is a possibility to give credit now, then let's give credit to the focus pullers.
Maybe we should open to the questions from the audience. If there is anyone who wants, yeah, I see there. Maybe we should. I should jump and I will.
Sorry, I don't know. My question's two-part. It seems like a lot of you did go to film school and maybe started your careers maybe in your 20s. I'm curious if you have any insight about how film school affected your career, and if you have any advice for someone who might have went to a semi-film school, like how to enter the career maybe or the industry later in your life. New York.
I mean, I graduated when I was 31, so not in my 20s. I think I went to film. It was 2 years. I was considering Polish film school, but it was 5 years. I used to be an assistant, and I think just looking specifically at my life, it was a really good decision. I think UK at the time had a real glass ceiling for assistants. There was 4 or 5 of us. And I remember my last job was with somebody who was telling me that I'm actually in trouble because I will never move forward because I'm a woman and I'm a foreigner in the UK. And actually, I'm very grateful for it because he sort of then tell a few people that I shouldn't be working anymore and that I'm quitting the industry. So I actually had to look for different alternatives, and it was like a blessing in disguise. I applied to film school, I failed, I applied again, and and it was the best decision of my life. But I think it really takes individual situation. I do think that it accelerates you, and I think there is a sweet spot where film schools really work. I think too young is not great, and too old, I think you're a little bit stuck. So I think, I don't know how old you are, but for me, it was a really good time. I did my personal project. I took 16mm camera to Xinjiang. I did a lot of things on my own merits, which actually started my career.
Yeah, I want to add to this kind of, it's not a bug, it's a feature topic, is that whatever is the path that defines you will become part of your career. Nina Kellgren used to say that she didn't get in from the front door, but she got in from another door. You always don't get in from the front door, but because of the fact that she didn't graduate the classical film school and she was going to art school, she got into a very interesting crowd, and thanks to that, she was shooting films for Isaac Julien, which probably she would have not met if she would have gone through the more traditional way. So I think whichever is your road to get somewhere, it's going to be part of your career. It's going to be part of the unique and idiosyncratic part of who you are. And it's sometimes, I think sometimes it's even good that things don't go always smoothly because they build something that becomes part of you. And another thing is that although I thought I was an insecure person, it never stopped me of doing anything. Maybe I was just, I don't know, maybe it's the ADHD. I was super insecure, but I always kept on asking people. And I kept on asking for jobs. I kept on asking how they make it. I kept on just asking all the time. And I think at least 2 features of my career I actually got because I asked for them. I just went up to the director and said, I heard you're shooting a film. Do you have a cinematographer? And they said, oh, actually, I'm not, because we're in early stages of development. Probably there were 10 or 15 times per each time I got the job by asking where I didn't get one. But a lot of us are just spend a lot of time being worried. And, it's like being on a seesaw. You spend a lot of energy, but you don't move forward. So being worried is like being on a seesaw, and being angry is like drinking poison and hoping that somebody else will die of this poison. So I think you have to just keep on going forward, and whatever the doors that open, just go in, peek in, say, oh, this is a cool door. No one knew that the door like this existed. And you might find your collaborators who you're going to do something that everyone else would be like, where did they come from? They came from the back door.
I joined the industry when I was in my late 20s. And I think I was 27 or 8 when I became a trainee. And before that, I shot my feature film a long time before I became a trainee. So I think, like, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Your situation is very unique. And I feel like age and experience which comes with it can be on your side. So don't stop yourself. I didn't go to film school. I studied economics. I went to film school as a mature student when I was already working in the industry because I wanted to study something I was interested in. And yeah, if you look, every single person here is unique and has a unique journey. And if you have the drive, if you put work into it, persistent patience, you'll get there, I'm sure.
My advice, based on my experience, is I accepted everything they invited me to work on. So I never said no. I never said this is too, I don't know, too not artistic for me. I even shot a TV soap for 9 months, and that was a tremendous experience for me because I was shooting in a huge studio that I had to deal with the lights by myself. So and early I never refused to work. I never said no to any of the experience, and it gained you not just contacts, but everything. You learn how to do different stuff, and you watch different people. And I have at least 10 people that were my trainees that were just sending an email to me like, I would like to bring a coffee on a set. Can you call me next time you shoot? And I always call them. I always keep an eye on those people who are proactive. And it happened that those are the best people that I can have. And many of them are now cinematographers. Many of them are now in film studies. And then there is one cinematographer that he came and said, your last feature film, I sat in a bus. I heard that you're shooting in some town in Serbia. So I sat in a bus and I was in a cafe next to your set watching how you're shooting. And then he was on my next feature film, my trainee, and now he's a DP. He didn't have a one day of a school. So he was just so proactive and so open to learn. And that's my best experience I can give you from my experience. Just work, accept everything that you can. Of course, not if people are mean to you, but...
I'll also add something to it, that accept everything. I agree completely. There was a period in my life where I didn't get any films jobs, and I was actually shooting a lot of concerts. I was on the stage filming concerts for the big screen, and this taught me camera operating, but it also kept me a cinematographer, because when you're between jobs most of the time, this time really becomes about asking, am I really still a cinematographer if I'm not shooting anything? So I think it's really important to do whatever it takes to keep on being a cinematographer. If it's about going to see films and going to art galleries and just personally developing as a cinematographer, you're still doing it. It takes 10,000 hours to become a professional, and it's not only set experience that makes you a professional cinematographer. Just going to an art gallery makes you a cinematographer too. So just keep on remembering that I am a cinematographer, even if you're between jobs.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, we are running out of time, unfortunately. Yeah, actually, thank you a lot for your question, because for all the students or people who are in their early stage of their career, it was very nice to hear this inspiring story that are all universal somehow, and you should also do your own way how to deal with your career and how to go further. Thanks a lot for being at Manaki Film Festival and giving a huge support for the festival. And I hope that this conversation about female, male will stop, that we will not talk in the near future, because we will not have this kind of problem anymore, as Alan said. Thanks a lot for your patience and being wonderful audience. Enjoy the rest of the festival.